Having back on the show Nick Freeman, the solicitor, also known as Mr. Loophole. As we all know, he's defended a host of celebrities facing speeding fines. This is his speciality. Nick, how lovely to have you on. You're going to tell me I'm wrong, I'm deluded. There is another box to tick which says I'm terribly famous, I'm very, very powerful and rich, and I shouldn't have to do the same as everyone else because it's well embarrassing to sit in that room with everybody looking at you. And I know, and to my shame, I've done it. It's horrible. I wished I didn't have to, but I didn't think of trying to get out of it by wishing there was another box and pretending there was one to tick.
I'm not going to tell you there's another box because there isn't.
No. So how can you get out of it then?
Well, there are other options. I mean, some people decide to fight the fact they're speeding and they go to court and they plead not guilty and they're acquitted.
Yeah.
And you know, doing a course, there is a punitive element to it in the sense that you pay for the course. You're not paying a fine. You're actually paying the course provider for arranging the course. So
right.
let's be clear. There's no fine imposed. And the course is didactic. The whole purpose is to make us better and safer drivers.
Yes.
So in itself, it's a good thing.
Mm.
And that in itself is the punitive aspect of this. There's the remedial effect, of course, because we're going to hopefully become better drivers. She wasn't trying to dodge this. And she's perfectly entitled, from a legal perspective, to approach the course provider or ideally instruct a lawyer to do so for her and make an inquiry. Is there an alternative to me sitting down either in a group with Zoom or in a room with other attendees? There's nothing wrong with that. In my view, what she's done is naive in the extreme, because what she's done is she's asked a civil servant to do it. And in my view, what she's merging a private matter with people who are financed by the taxpayer. And that clearly is wrong. That is her mistake, in my view. I don't think there's anything wrong. I'm confident there's nothing wrong with her approaching or asking someone to approach the course provider. She's asked the civil servant to do it, or two civil servants to do it, and that is her mistake.
But
it's
Nick,
not as if she's asking them to do anything wrong.
But Nick,
whilst there's no box, can I just say, Vanessa,
yeah.
I've actually been approached by course providers and said, look, would you please speak to your client and see if they're prepared to do a one-to-one? And on other occasions, several other occasions, I've decided that it would be better for the client, for the course provider, and for all the attendees if the client wasn't there, because they enjoy such a high profile. And the purpose of this is, you know, we're supposed to come away from the course better and safer drivers. We don't want someone on the course who is so well known, and I'm not suggesting that this would apply to a politician, but we don't want someone there who's going to provide such a huge distraction that actually people are going to be nudging themselves, chat. I mean, you said you had 50 selfies, you're probably being modest. Okay, but the reality is, Vanessa, that you were a huge distraction on that course, and your very presence probably diluted the concentration of the other people on that course, and they would have probably learned more and become better drivers, and I say this with the greatest of respect, without you being there, because you are a distraction because of your notoriety.
But Nick,
okay?
you do this prodigiously well. You're magnificent at doing what you do, and we can see it in action right now, because it would be an entirely different prospect were the course provider to have seen my name or Suella Braverman's or David Beckham's or anybody else's well-known name on the form, and for the course provider, as you suggest, to have approached me and said, Vanessa Feltz, we think you might provide a distraction. You might, in fact, lessen people's ability to learn to be better drivers. So would you mind, Vanessa, doing a private course, which would leave it up to me to decide either yes, I would, which I definitely would have done, or no, I wouldn't. That's entirely different. And yes, I'm not arguing I might have been a distraction, and Suella Braverman in the room might have been so beguiling and seductive and enchanting a vista that they couldn't concentrate, possibly. But there's an enormous difference, and this is the crux of the entire thing, and I'm sure you agree, between the course provider deciding you might prove to be a distraction and you yourself looking at the entirely standard form and thinking, well, actually, I think a different solution, a different experience ought to be provided to me. I think, because I want one, because I don't want to sit there with everyone else and have everybody come out and say, oh, I saw Vanessa or I saw Suella Braverman in the course. Now, that's an entirely different thing. And if you start to get a fixer who is in a preeminent position as, some kind of senior civil servant to make calls to course providers to see if you can have an entirely different experience from the entire rest of the country, this, I think, is where the issue arises, because what you're saying is you know, taxes are for the little people, and speed awareness courses in tandem with everybody else are for the little people, and I'm not one of those, so I don't have to put up with it. That's not right. That's what people don't like about this, surely.
No, I completely understand what people don't like, and they don't like the idea that certain very high-profile people are privileged enough to actually have a private course, and I completely understand that. I do take issue with you when you say that the purpose of the course is designed to humiliate, not the purpose, but there is this humiliation. I mean, obviously, one has to manage one's own emotions. And if you feel humiliated, well, that's clearly a matter for you. I've attended a course. I didn't feel in the least bit humiliated, and I found it instructive, very interesting, and it was you know, a good, interesting chat with plenty of interesting banter.
I felt ashamed. I just felt that I'd done something wrong, and I felt ashamed that I'd done it. And I felt like I wish I hadn't, and I wish I hadn't got to be here to sort of punish me for this. But it was also interesting. I agree with you. It wasn't boring or anything. It was just kind of, I was ashamed.
But it's not designed. It's not designed to make you feel uncomfortable and humiliate you. It's a collaborative, positive experience. And you know, if you turn it completely around and say, look, do we want people who attend the course to concentrate 100% on what's going on, or would we rather have them concentrate 65, 70% and let the rest of the 35% be on the person who is so famous, he's world famous, that they're going to be concentrating on that person as opposed to the contents of the course? So they're going to go out, they might miss something, they might have an accident, they might be ignorant as to a part of the law that they would have known had they concentrated. We want them to get everything out of it, 100% out of the course. And on those rare occasions that we're talking about, the tiny, tiny, tiny percentage of people who are eligible, who fall into this category, their absence is a benefit to the course provider
and I will turn it right back round again, and I will say, and I will say yes to everything you say. I heartily concur, but let it be under the aegis of the course provider that it is decided that the person might be a distraction. Let it not be the individual, him or herself, who requests exceptional treatment which exempts them from that which applies to the rest of the country. Nick, I have to let you go, to my regret, because I could talk to you all day. You could go upside down, I could go round the other way, and we could do it for hours and thoroughly enjoy it. I'm
Ultimately,
so sorry.
it's within their discretion, isn't it?
Sorry to terminate you so prematurely. Always a great pleasure to have you on.
Thank you.
So what do you think of that conversation?